on why. But no one does that. They just say, let's go over and bomb them, and then that'll fix the problem. And,
well, this has become a major issue in the current French campaign because Macron on the campaign trail has been talking about French history and colonialism specifically,
right.
and how that has caused the current situation they're in, cause and effect.
Right.
Whereas Le Pen is taking the right-wing stance that, oh, he's an apologist for France being France, and basically promising more of the same.
Right.
That, well,
she's also selling fear. She's selling fear and
absolutely.
everything.
But like I constantly say on this show, the problem comes down to the mentality that everything happens for a reason.
Right.
And the people who believe that strictly do not have any concern of what that reason is. And you need to reason is. And if what happened that is part of everything is something desirable, then knowing the reason is going to enable you to make it happen again.
Right.
If what happened is not desirable, knowing the reason it happened is going to enable you to prevent it from happening again.
Right. I mean, it's almost like
but people are not. People are content with just everything happens for a reason, and leaving it at that, and it's not enough.
Right. I mean, it's the cause and effect of our let's say we looked at our drinking water, and you got all these. Well, they say fluoride. Okay, well, why did we have to put fluoride in the water in the first place? It used
People
to be
weren't brushing their teeth.
Actually go out and drink river water. I mean, you could go into the woods. People lived off the land and everything. But guess what? You start bringing in factories, and you start bringing in chemicals and everything else. Now you can't drink the water. Then someone said, "Hey, man, we should learn how to control the water, and then we'll charge the people for the water." See, that's the thing. Those that in order for you to have an imagination, as Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. Once you get the knowledge, then you get the imagination. If you never have the knowledge, you never get the imagination. And a lot of people don't have the knowledge, so they don't have the imagination to think that, hey, man, you know what? We shouldn't be doing this. Hey, don't put that in there. Hey, that's wrong. No, because you're so easily to be sold fear. And it hasn't changed. It was the same thing in the 18th. I guarantee you can go back as far as you want and sell people on whatever there is. Jim Jones got, I don't know how many people to travel where?
French Guiana.
French Guiana, right? And they had never been there, packed up everything that they owned. And then when he found out that his plan, they found out what was going on, really what he was doing, just screwing all the patrons and making babies and the whole God thing went out the window. He was just a big freak. He's a perv under God. And then wrong, hey, everybody, drink some Kool-Aid. We're out of here. And they, and that shows the gullibility of our society, man. This is not anything new. Trump is not new. Trump is a used car salesman. He's selling you that car. Remember,
he's a music man. He's a what? He's a what?
Remember the Three Stooges commercial show that they went to buy a car? He said, "Listen to that engine." Vroom. There was no engine in the car. Really, that sounds really good. Do that again. Vroom. I got buy a car with no engine in it, man. Come on.
Which is basically Republican healthcare in a nutshell.
Yes.
Hopefully, France is going to keep their heads about them and learn. There's what I think the big theme of what we've been talking about is learning from past mistakes. And I always like to say it's good to learn from your mistakes. It's better to learn from other people.
Right.
Hopefully, France come around and look at. We've had 107 days of this moron in chief, and things. You don't have to live here to know how crazy things are getting. In the English elections this week, Labour took a beating, and the Tories did really well. But fortunately, UKIP took a horrendous beating. So I think people in England are now starting to see the folly of their ways. Not enough to turn things around, but from what I've read about the Labor Party, they're in more disarray than the Democrats are here. So they really need to get their shit together, get their government
but
back.
they don't want to share. The problem is that people do not want to share when it comes to, I've often said that the biggest, there's always been a battle between capitalism and labor, and they don't want to pay you, just like they don't. Because they want to keep everybody at a certain level. And that's why your insurance is so damn high. To keep telling you, remember, it was about the land of the free. It was about, and it's about, hey, man, the American dream, buying a house, and all these different things. Well, guess what? Then they start jacking up taxes on your ass. You got to get this done. Then you got to buy this, and you got to have this. Then you turned around and you said, well, hey, you said, oh, we don't like unions. Well, the unions were things that help you, made you get that extra pay, made you get the best medical. But then all of a sudden you say, oh, well, the unions start getting involved. They got infiltrated and start getting a cut. They wanted money. And when you start doing all of this stuff, and you get infiltrated, that kills a lot of things. And that's why we're, where we are today. And the guy who ends up, I think when you see the homeless, I just really think that the average person can't keep up, man. He just gets, because everything keeps changing. You keep raising more and more tax. A lot of those guys who are homeless, it's not like they didn't do anything right. It's just but when they got involved and you kept changing the rules, took them out. And they weren't able to keep up.
It happens. Well, speaking of changing the rules, on the campaign trail, Trump was talking about changing libel laws and basically curbing freedom of the press. So we started seeing that in action this week with the arrest, the arrest was in January, but the prosecution of Desiree Fairooz, who was arrested in January after she laughed at a claim from Senator Richard Shelby that our current Attorney General Jeff Sessions had a history of treating all Americans equally under the law, and saying that history was clear and well documented. She laughed, she was carried out, and now she's being charged with treason. I don't know. It's...
You can't laugh at him? I thought you were laughing at that country-ass accent. He sounds just like a Klansman. How long there we going to do things?
Well, in the specific words he says, he sounds like a Klansman. And there's a guy who was rejected for a federal judgeship because he said he thought the Klan was okay until he found out that they were in favor of smoking weed.
Right. And it was also Coretta Scott King who stated that this man should not become Attorney General. He should not. They were back then. Coretta Scott told him, no way. No. And he didn't get it then. But now he's back. And they were trying to, that's what Elizabeth Warren was trying to read during the thing. And that's when they cut her off. Now.
Which I'm amazed. I'm amazed there wasn't more uproar about that. That there is a rule. Of course, everybody focused on she persisted, which is great. But I'm amazed that more people weren't freaked out over the fact that there's a rule in the Senate that you can't speak against other members of the Senate, that you can't disparage members of the Senate. Mm-hmm. And as we saw in this case with Elizabeth Warren, and in this, this is separate, but that even when you have historical record and fact, you cannot use a person's own words to explain why they are a bad person and why they are unqualified for a position such as Attorney General. Wow. Getting more into curbing freedom of the speech, another big story this week that interests me, as I presume you, as comedians. Yeah. And I think it could go a long way towards affecting what we do for a living. But the FCC is investigating Stephen Colbert, who during a rant in his monologue said that basically the only thing that Donald Trump's mouth is good for is to be used as a holster for Putin's cock, which I think is a great line.
Cock is not a bad word.
Well, it's one of those things that
it wasn't part of Carlin's bad words that you can't say on TV.
Ship, piss, fuck, cunt, motherfucker. Yeah, you're right. But it is. It's one of those things. It was done with the knowledge that it would be bleeped before broadcast.
Right, and I never did until you said what it was. I didn't know because it was bleeped.
And
right. I mean, did not one guy come on there and say, effing? Who was that? It was on Meet the Press.
Lindsey Graham.
What did he say? F what?
I believe he was talking about the original healthcare plan,
right,
which he said was basically an FU to.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's more, the FU and coming from him.
But it literally FU, not where we, this is a podcast. We don't need to abbreviate or clean it up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, fuck it. Yeah. Okay. And here's Lindsey Graham. I mean, I was more about, he did it on Meet the Press. That's never happened. No one's ever done that on Meet the Press. And I'm thinking that guy must have taken a couple shots.
Although I imagine, myself included, a lot of people have yelled it at the TV while watching Meet the Press.
Oh, yeah. When you sit there and listen to, I mean, for him to go after Colbert for that, which I thought was when I heard the monologue, I mean, I love guys who can put things together. He kind of reminded me of Richard Jenney. Richard Jenney, when he did the whole thing on Republicans and Democrats, he was on stage and he would run to one side. Now you got Republicans over here, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, you Democrats. And he'd run over to the other side and do the thing. I mean, he really gave a great breakdown. When you can really, whoever wrote that for him, or I don't know if he wrote it. I mean, Colbert probably wrote it, but I mean, whoever wrote it, it was put together, and he basically, when you compare it, you're doing sign language of a monkey or something he said. I didn't even get all of it, but it was great. I don't see anything wrong with it, but I think they voted for a guy and put him in as the FCC guy, and so of course he's going to use it to threaten him and say, hey, basically the reason why that's going down, it's a threat. Say something else about me like that again, and I'll guarantee your ass you won't be around. He's not going to go anywhere. This isn't going to go anywhere. I don't believe it will, but I think that's a threat, basically.
Well, I think a big problem is that a lot of people don't understand or are just plain ignorant about telecommunications law. And, of course, it's law, so it's very involved. It's very intricate. But the basic idea that everybody needs to know and needs to understand. And this isn't just about the FCC and the airwaves, but also about the government. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people on the right and a lot of folks who are currently serving in government, including the president, don't understand the role of government and the role of the FCC. The airwaves are owned by the public. Mm-hmm. And the FCC is there as basically a steward. Right. They are chosen by our government to take care of the airwaves for the public because there's a lot of us. And if you've ever tried to get anything accomplished in a meeting, so when you have however many, billion Americans, right, you can't have a committee meeting. You got to get representatives. Mm-hmm. And the Republicans, Trump included, I think, believe that by being in charge of the government, this means that they own the FCC. This is theirs now. This is that, Trump said something earlier this week about he was trying to diminish the power of the minority party in Congress. And another thing I'm amazed more people weren't freaking out about because essentially he's trying to concentrate power in the presidency. Right. He thinks that he is the owner of the American people. He doesn't work for us. We are his as he sees it, right, which is complete bullshit.
Right.
This is,
this is the same guy who he gave power to his daughter, who knows nothing. That's which is one of the scariest things in the world. This chick just pops up out of nowhere. She has a clothing line, but now her and her husband are over our, and also isn't this the guy that said grab you in the pussy?
Yeah.
Isn't him? But he wants the FEC or F.
Yeah, well, that's. I wish.